So wouldn't it be nice how you can buy apartments in the next 90 days and do it with $15,000 to $30,000 out of pocket? How can you pull that off, especially when it's a multi-million-dollar building? Because most people, by nature, the things that we hear, kind of the limiting beliefs that are in people's minds about multifamilies, it takes millions of dollars to get started. You can't do it with little capital. I don't know how to finance the stuff. I can't get financing. I don't know how to find good deals, but it's typically finding the good deals and then the capital financing side of it, either from their own capital or the concepts of raising money or bringing in other investors kind of limit people's beliefs around it. So I'm going to dispel those tonight, throw those to the wind, and get you to think differently about actually how this works and how the game of money works, how multifamily works, and how you could get into a building, 10 to 30 units within the next 90 days. Okay, so here we go. Imagine that. See, if you could get that building right there, that's about a 25 unit building in the Midwest. But if you could get into a building like that, a 10 to 30 unit apartment building in the next 90 days for $15,000 to $30,000 out of pocket, what would that do for you? What would it do for you? I was chatting with someone yesterday about, and they got kind of emotional because they're the type of person that has done a bunch of communities and programs and courses, and they've done a lot of them. And they never complete. They get started, but they never complete. They never execute at the end of the day. And we were trying to understand why. Like, why is that? Because that's like a deeper level thing. That's a limiting belief or something that kind of gets you to a point you hit a sense of resistance a little bit, and then you stop, right? You get there and you stop, and you start and you stop, right? And you're chasing shiny pennies all over the place. So we want to avoid that, and that's some of the stuff we're going to talk about tonight. Does anybody remember 2008? That was a fun year or two, 2008 to 2010. So what was interesting is prior to that time frame, up until that time frame, and I'll kind of get into it, but I was doing title insurance, and then from there, I kind of wanted to do that when I got out of college. And then from that point, I kind of made it a little bit on my own. I didn't want to go to family and say, hey, where's my job? And I did, and I was able to do that. But then at that point, I started working for my family, and my dad in particular, who I kind of came up through real estate a little bit. He was kind of that transitional character in our family, at least, that had made it. It made it pretty big. Zero to hero journey for him. He had a really rough childhood. Single mom raised him. Obviously, he had a stepdad, but his stepdad was not a good role model for him. His dad died at 3. Went off to Vietnam, came back, got into residential sales as a broker for a while, and then got into development, building homes, little homes, and then started seeing, hey, I should be getting into this kind of apartment game a little bit. But he always did the buy and sell, the buy and sell, the buy and sell, where you build things, sell things, build things, sell things, and he'd make big pops, a lot of money, like a lot of money. But then he was also susceptible at the times during market cycles, hence 2008. And he got caught. He went right through it. There was even stories written about this. There's little me, little Justin there. There were stories written about this in 2008 to 2010. It was a pretty wild time. And he had a massive BK. And it was devastating. It was devastating for our family because up until then, he'd ridden through 3 different market cycles. That was the 4th one. And then that one hit him because the velocity and the violence of it, as everybody remembers, was massive. And he was way over leveraged at that time and got caught. But I would say that going through that, they always say in moments of suffering, greatness is born. I do believe that because that taught me a lot going through that moment in time on what to do and what not to do, how to stay properly leveraged and not over leveraged. And to be prepared for market down cycles in the event they come. And I like the steady Eddie game. I wasn't really big on this, build and sell, buy and sell game as much because I didn't want to get into developing properties, staying out there 3-4 years, developing something, and then all of a sudden you get caught in a market cycle. So my dad did a lot of that, and I saw that, and I saw how it could be great, but it can also take you down. And so for me, the apartment game, the cash flow, and the steady Eddie was the game that I wanted to get into when I had the chance. And that's what we started doing. So then here comes 2010. I was an asset manager up until that time with a lot of the major banks. So 2008 to 2010, I was an asset manager doing the foreclosures and REOs around the country as all these banks were taking them back, right? Countrywide, B of A, Chase, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, EMC. I mean, you name it, we did it. And we were handling 300-400 assets for me personally at a time around the country, hiring the realtors, cash for keys, evictions. I mean, anything you can imagine we were seeing and we were dealing with. It was wild. It was wild. But then came 2010 and I realized, like we need to start buying properties. But I didn't have any money. Like I didn't have any money at that time, really. Honestly, I think I had like $28,000 in my bank account. But I knew we had to buy property, and I knew how to do it. I knew how to find deals. I knew how to analyze them. I knew how to put them together. I didn't know how to raise capital yet, but I knew how that game could work if I understood it. And so I went to a friend of mine and I said, hey, we need to buy some properties, but I don't have the money. And this is where I speak to everybody in here tonight. You either bringing the sweat equity, which is the knowledge and the ability to execute, or you're bringing the check equity, which is the actual capital and the ability to execute at that level on the capital side. Most people don't bring both. If you can, you're a little bit of a unicorn and you're ahead of the game. And I love that. At that time, I could bring the sweat equity because I could bring the ability to find deals. So this is very, very valuable because I became very valuable to now my partner who needed someone that could do this because he had capital. He just didn't have the know-how. I had the know-how, but I didn't have the capital. You see how that works? Yin and yang. And so in 2010, we bought our first deal and it was a $100,000 condo. $100,000 condo in Murrieta, California. And that thing, I remember that thing. It cash flowed at like 13% cash on cash return. And if you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. But it was a good deal. We weren't making a lot of money. I think we were cash flowing at like $600-700 a month, which is decent for our first deal. And we thought, this is great. But then we started to realize, okay. So then we went into the duplex game, right? And triplexes and quads and all that stuff. And we got up in 2018 to about 20 units in our own little portfolio, most of our own money, about $3.5 million in assets. And we thought like, we'd made it. We'll just sit tight and we'll retire off of this. Then you realize that's not really how the game's played. And we wanted to grow, but we were running out of our own money. So then, okay, now we're out of our own money. Well, how do we go scale and do this and get into this game that we see everybody doing? Okay, and that's what started the process of learning this game of OPM, other people's money. How can you go out and acquire a 10 to 30 unit apartment building, a 50 unit apartment building, bring in limited capital of my own, and then in conjunction with other people's money, and that comes from all types of sources, and I'll get into that. But how can we do that and then leverage our talents and our ability and low capital we have to then scale to new heights? And so that started the game in 2018. So literally from 2018, we had 20 units, and to where we're at today, it's actually 685 units and about $180 million today in 2025. And then our goal, we're going towards 10,000 units and $1 billion. That's where we're headed. And that's where I want to go. So I would ask you all tonight, what is your BHAG? And I think I'll get into mine here in a minute, but what is your BHAG? BHAG is big, hairy, audacious goal. I want you to share that in the chat. And maybe it's something just by the end of the year. It's the end of 2025, December 31st. How many units would you like to have? Regardless of whether you believe it can happen or not is irrelevant. But I want you to dream, and I want you to dream good. 2,500 doors, Jeff. Let's go, baby. 250 trillionaire. All right. Hey, rock and roll. Never too big. Miguel, 10 units. Put a 0 on that, Miguel. Why not? Okay. Minimum 20 units. Love that. Provide orphans in America and Uganda, Africa, resources for food, clothing, shelter. Okay, love that. Very cool. And we got 500 units. Charles, I love it. I love you guys are putting zeros on all this stuff now. This is great. Yeah, you got to dream big, because I didn't know exactly how big to dream, and I didn't really understand how this whole game worked. But once we started seeing it happen, obviously your confidence grows. But it's never real until that first deal, right? I mean, it's fictitious in a way until the first deal actually happens. You close escrow and you're standing in front of it and you can like knock on it and it's like the brick and you're like, holy crap, I own this thing now. And it's like real. And then there's a sense of accomplishment with that too, because especially if you have kids, a spouse, you want them to look up at you, admire you, respect you. And, if you're one of those people that maybe has been letting them down a little bit or letting yourself down and not stepping up to the plate to maybe where you think you should be or where you think your family thinks you should be and being that person in the family, it can be a big heartache, I would say, to a lot of people. So, and that's a pain. That's a good pain, because most people make decisions in their life based on pain, not pleasure. Have you noticed that? I mean, think about it. Have you made big decisions in your life based on pain or pleasure? I'm curious. Why do you think you make big decisions in your life based on pain or pleasure of doing it? The pleasure of what it can be or the pain of avoiding something not happening or staying away from pain? Yeah, let me give you a perfect example. When I got into residential real estate back in 2010, as we were coming into buying properties as well, I had about 3 months of reserves in my bank account. And anybody who knows residential sales game as a realtor, you know that it can take sometimes 6 months to get your first deal. And you don't know where your next paycheck's coming from. So you're 100% commissioned. And, you got people, family, things, riding on you. And I had 3 months of reserves, and I came out into the residential world. And my mentor at that time, we worked really quickly to get in the first deal or two in. And then he said, we put in goals and everything. And the pleasure thought of those goals was great. But he says, Justin, do you want to guarantee that you actually make and beat those goals this year by the end of the year? By the way, this was June, middle of the year. And I said, yes, I do, 100%. He says, great, pull out your checkbook. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, pull out your checkbook. So I pulled it out. He says, I want you to write me $10,000 check. You're going to write me a $10,000 check, and you're going to post date it to December 31st of 2020, right, of the year I'm in. I think it was 2010. 2010, December 31st, 2010. And if you don't hit north of 6 figures, okay, and meet your goal, which my goal was about $100,000 for that year, and it was June, by the way, I'm going to cash this check. I'm going to cash the check. So I don't know if that works for everybody, but I can tell you that I woke up every single day of my life, in anxiety, which is fine, I guess. But I broke the record. I got $150,000 in less than 6 months because I was running scared shitless every single day. And that was the fear, the pain of him cashing that check and having to watch that happen made me run. And I ran like Forrest Gump all the way through it, baby. So I ask you, is it pain or pleasure? Because most people say pleasure, but pleasure doesn't really move the needle. Think about all the people that maybe want to lose weight. The pleasure of losing the weight doesn't really move them, right? Otherwise they would do it. It's usually the pain that comes of the opposite, meaning you're going to die, you're going to have a heart attack, right? And if you knew you were going to have a heart attack, you didn't lose weight, you get the point. It's about pain. So you get to this point here, and here we are, it was 600 plus units. And how did we get there? Like, I made the decision because I was sitting there. And my sister, and this is kind of a little bit of an emotional topic, but my sister passed away in 2018 in the middle of the year. And this was literally the moment of pendulum swing. And that pain, because I sat there in my car one day and thought to myself, how short life is, right? We all have these moments where it makes you put things in perspective. And having my sister pass, you're like, here we are almost midlife. And are we where we want to be? And when you answer the question no, and then you feel the pain and you watch everybody else doing things that you want to do and you're not there yet, and then you realize I need to start running and not sitting back and waiting, the pain of that moment and the pain of not being there and stepping up and leveling up to where I need to be, that pain moved the needle. And I literally a week later saw a conference, a syndication conference on how to raise capital, put things together, and do this type of stuff that happened right here in front of your screen. And it was in Boston a couple months after. And I booked myself a ticket. I said, let's go. And I flew my ass across the country, sat in a room with 3,500 people, other investors, lawyers, attorneys, all kinds of networking happened there. It was great. And the more I sat in that room, I sat there and watched all these other people have a lot of success. And I'm sitting there going, holy crap, if these people can do it, there's no reason I can't. And so that like lit the fire in me, right? But the pain is what started it. The pain made the movement. And literally came home, got to it within, I think when in early 2019, we bought our first 27 unit deal. And that was within 6 months after starting the thought process. So I love that. So that's my BHAG. You know what it is, 10,000 units and $1 billion. Has anybody ever done this identity audit before? Has anybody ever done this identity audit before? I did this a couple years ago. And the reason I'm bringing this up is the stuff we're talking about. Because if you don't get your mindset right and you don't have this pain kind of inside of you that's making your belly burn every single day, you're not going to get there. Because the minute you face any resistance, you're going to quit. You're going to quit. And that's half the battle, is just staying on it. You only fail if you quit, right? I mean, when things get tough, as long as you know your process is good, right? And you may not get in the wins yet, I get it. But if your process is good, you just got to stay the course and don't freaking give up. What are the things that drive you, get you excited every day? Is it the business you're in where it's not a job, it's actually a passion? You like fly out of bed for it, right? Maybe it's your family, which for most people, that should be a huge why. And it's not just your personal family, but it's also philanthropy, giving back, helping others, leaving a legacy. That drives a lot of people, right? Maybe it's helping educate people, explain things, give information, help change people's lives. It's very fulfilling. And then people, you got religion, sports and culture. Maybe you like politics. Maybe it's media. Maybe it's all the above, okay? But everybody you're going to have 3 or 4. Let me show you mine so you can kind of get how this exercise works. So for me, business, you got to have a successful business because that helps drive revenue, right? And if you have revenue, right, money, right? When I see money, I don't know what money does for all of you, but when I see money, I see choices, right? When I see $1, I see one choice. When I see $100,000, I see 100,000 choices because that's all it gives you. If you think about it in its concept, money gives you choices, right? Do you take trips with family? Do you have experiences? Do you give back? Do you give to your church? Philanthropy? What do you do with those choices? Or do you take that money, go to Las Vegas, go in the nightclubs and put it up your nose? Right? That's choice. People do it. You see, athletes, young athletes making a lot of money. What do? Sometimes good choices, sometimes bad. And then you see famous celebrities. What do? Sometimes good choices, sometimes bad with all the money, right? But if you good choices, bad choices, but it gives you choices. So from that, now you can get into the media game. For me, doing that to help raise profile, which then helps me help people, right? It's a whole pendulum to help people. You raise awareness through the media game. And then you come into the education space. That's what we're doing here tonight. Because what I found out is I get a lot of fulfillment out of helping others grow because inevitably it's a win-win. And I'm going to show you that here tonight and how we created a community of well-trained investors around the country that are finding deals, putting them together, raising capital, collaborating, and making things happen. And I get to be a part of that because with that, then I get to see deals that I would never otherwise see. I mean, you guys saw my BHAG, it's 10,000 units and $1 billion. I don't get there alone. I get there through collaboration and partnerships with people sometimes. And the community allows that to happen voluntarily, by the way, completely voluntarily. So that's a great piece of it. And then the final piece of the puzzle for me is, of course, family, my personal family with kids and family and all that. And then giving back, leaving a legacy. Like we give back to a lot of, I'd say, military-based foundations. My family's huge in the military, and so is Chris, my partner, my business partner, huge in the military. So because of that, we give a lot of things to Navy SEALs, foundations, Tunnels to Towers, Wounded Warrior Project, all of that stuff. So that's the stuff that's passionate to us at home. So love it. I'm just looking in the chat here real quick. Sean, how you doing, man? Good to see you on tonight. Another person in our community. So great to see you. And then cool, you get to meet a lot of cool people, right? I don't know if you know any of the folks that are on these photos, but there's some fun folks. You probably know some of them. Does anybody know Beardy Brandon, by the way? Bottom left corner of your screen. He is a character, an amazing human being, by the way. He was one of the co-founders of biggerpockets.com. And then now he's off doing some other things as well, but killer guy. And then you got Mr. Grant Cardone down there, Ryan Pineda, then apartment rockstar over here, Robert Martinez. Really cool dude. So all the above. So great folks you get to be a part of. Okay, so why multifamily? Do you even know that unlike flipping a house, wholesaling, short-term rentals, any other type of real estate investing that's out there that you all have seen, and there's gurus and webinars and all kinds of stuff about them, right? Plenty of people talking about it. You get paid 1 to 2 ways on those deals, okay? The reason why multifamily is so critically valuable when you understand it end to end is because you're going to get paid 5 to 8 different ways. This is not a game of just come in and I just get some cash flow and a profit when I sell it. It's not that game. It's a much bigger game than that. It's a much more valuable game than that, which is why once you learn it and you understand how it's played, you can become extremely wealthy with it. So these are the 5 to 8 ways you get paid when you do this game. Acquisition fee, that's an AQ. Acquisition fee is what that stands for. Asset management fees, monthly cash flow. Makes sense, everybody knows about the mailbox money. Profits from sale or refinancing a property. Tax benefits, that's the craziest thing that people don't understand. Like, it's not about how much money you make. I want you to just literally say this to yourself in the mirror. If you're a high income earner right now and you're making $80, $90, $100,000 plus a year, you're getting hosed, especially if you're working for the man. If you're in a W-2 job where you're getting a W-2 income and you're going and doing 9 to 5, you're getting hosed. And you know it. Why? Because the IRS is not giving you the tax breaks. Why? Because you're not moving enough money. And once you begin to move money, which is what multifamily does, this is why you get the #1 tax breaks in the world, is through cost segregation and accelerated depreciation. And it's legal as hell. And it's going to get better. So now that the administration's in. So I'm curious. You got tax benefits, then you get fees when you sell the property. It's what's called a disposition fee. Okay? And then finder's fee. Maybe you're a great deal finder. Heck, maybe you just want to come into a community because you're a great deal finder. And you can find great deals and get paid simply for finding the deal. Very valuable. It's extremely valuable. It's the #1 thing is finding good deals. Okay? And then lastly, if you're going to renovate properties, part of this renovation game in multifamily, you get construction management fees. And this is all you for putting the deals together and running the show. You get paid, okay? So I want you guys to focus on this because this is the big game if you want to play it. And this is how you can get extremely wealthy and do it with limited capital, okay? Cristiano asked a question, can an acquisition fee be applied towards the down payment of a property in general? Okay, so you can't apply it to the down payment, Cristiano, but you can apply it technically. Let's say you had to bring $50,000 into the deal, okay? But you were going to get a $30,000 acquisition fee. So in your mind, it's $20,000, okay? Yes, you can technically offset that so you only physically bring in 20K, but realistically, you don't want to do that because if you're going to be raising money and having other investors in your deals and having this game really work correctly for you, most of your investors want to see that you have skin in the game. Would you agree with that? Right? And would you invest with me if we had a deal and you asked me if I was putting any money in it, but you were getting ready to give me 50 grand and you asked me if I was putting any money in and I said, no. I mean, what would you think? You'd be like, adios, right? You wouldn't do it because you wouldn't think that I had the confidence to do it. So that's why. Yeah, Kevin, it summed it up there. Perfect. Okay, awesome. So let me ask you, if I can show you how $19,000 out of pocket and you can make nearly $600,000 on that 19 grand, would that be worth it to you? If I can show you that here tonight, would that be worth it to you? And how if you learn this game, you can do the exact same thing. And this is not pie in the sky. This is not fugazi, fluff, bull, crap on webinars and all this other stuff. I'm going to literally show you. So everybody wonders the difference sometimes between single family and multifamily, single family and multifamily. I'll let you kind of read through these, but in the single family game, it's very transactional. You're getting paid only 1 to 2 ways. Short-term tax benefits, not the big kahuna. You're chasing the next deal all the time. If you're flipping and wholesaling homes, you know this. Lack of economies of scale, lack of generational wealth. It's harder to finance a single family. I can finance $1 million 10-unit apartment building easier than a $200,000 house in the Midwest. And you may be saying, why? How? We'll get into that. And it's good, quick money. That's one of the benefits of single family. It's quicker transactional cash. That's good. Then you got the multifamily game. Monthly cash flows. You're paid 5 to 8 ways over the term, right? We showed you that, okay? Long-term tax benefits through cost segregation and accelerating the depreciation. That's a term we're not going to get into crazy detail tonight. Just know that you can save and wipe out all of your income. I literally showed a doctor 2 days ago. This was the greatest conversation ever, by the way. He's a doctor out in New York. Very good guy. Has a wife, and he makes a lot of money. Okay, a lot of money as a physician in New York. He's getting hosed. Like state taxes, federal taxes, getting hosed. And he knew it. And we kind of chuckled on the phone about it. And I said, if I could show you how to wipe all that out, would that be a benefit to you? If I just did that alone, would that be a benefit to you? And he said, yeah, but how are you going to do that? And I said, you have a spouse? He's like, yes. I said, is she a real estate professional? I mean, is she a licensed real estate agent? And he's like, no. I said, great. She's going to become a licensed realtor. Okay, because you guys file taxes jointly, do you? And he's like, yes. I said, great. So she's now your lever. She's going to get a real estate license, do a little bit of real estate, and be classified as a real estate professional. And then as such, now because you guys file jointly, your income as a doctor, physician, is now filed alongside her. So when you go invest in these buildings of multifamily and you write off all this stuff through these benefits of taxes, that's going to pass right through to your tax returns as a family. And we're going to wipe out your doctor income with this method. And he's like, oh, I don't think I can do that. My CPA said I can't. I said, is your CPA a tax strategist or a CPA? And he's like, he's CPA. I said, exactly. They don't even know this game. I said, go find a tax strategist and they'll know what we're talking about. Okay. And he's like, holy crap. So that's how that game. And once he understood, he's like, sign me up. Just so you know, there's CPAs and there's tax strategists. CPAs and tax strategists. Some CPAs are good at both, but few are. Just FYI. Okay. So buying apartments. These are the 5 different pillars. I call it our Fast 5 method of how you buy apartments. How you do this game, okay? You have to find good deals. That's numero uno. All of you know that. How do you find good deals? Then you got to analyze them once you find them. Then how do you do the financing, the capital, raise the money, all that stuff, okay? Close the escrows and manage. Close the escrows and manage. But as I told you, we'll set aside, we'll presume we found the deals, analyze them. We're going to presume for a minute that if I can show you tonight how once you found a deal and analyzed it, you can get into it and make that kind of money and get into a 10 to 30 unit building with $19,000 out of pocket and do it in the next 90 days. That's my promise to you tonight. And that's what I told you I was going to do. Okay. And that's kind of in section number 3. That's the financing and capital side. Okay. So let's break this deal down. Let's break this deal down. You need massive tax strategies. Emmy, you need massive tax strategies. Yes. Don't we all? Don't we all? I have not paid taxes in 8 years, and I hope there's not an IRS agent on here tonight, but it's all legal. Trust me. That's how the game works. So you use the benefits of real estate and accelerate depreciation to wipe out income. I love it, Allison. So let's take this building. Let's presume for a minute we're buying this thing for $1.5 million. We're going to renovate the building. We're going to put in $200,000. Got this covered. You run now. Please email me right for future, Allison. Okay, cool. Thanks for coming, Allison. Appreciate that. And then you're going to get closing costs of about $100,000. Okay, $100,000 in closing costs. Your total, your all-in cost on this building is $1,850,000. Everybody tracking so far? Now you're going to go out and get a 70% loan on this thing. That's going to be about $1,300,000. Now your down payment, the equity you're putting in is $550,000. Now you may be saying, okay, this is where it gets tough, Justin. This is where I get stopped. Yeah, I don't know how to do this from this point. Here we go. So when you're syndicating and putting these deals together, okay, you're going to be bringing in about 10% of the money, only 10% of the money. And for that, keep this in mind, for bringing in only 10% of the money, you get 40, sometimes 50% of the deal. For bringing in 40% of the money, for bringing in 10% of the money, you get 40%, sometimes 50% of the deal. Why? Because you're also doing all this work to put it together. That's why you are a general partner running the deal. You're very, very valuable. Remember how I told you bring sweat equity or you bring check equity? Remember I told you that? Sweat or check. Now, in this case, you're bringing a little bit of the check and you're bringing a lot of the sweat. It's extremely valuable to the other people down there who have money. You are very valuable to them because you're solving big money problems for them. Because now they can come into a real estate investment, earn a good return on their money, wipe out taxes and events they have, and you're very valuable to them because you know how to execute this plan. That's why it is the way that it is, okay? So you're going to be bringing in 55 grand. Now, you remember how I told you that you get paid 5 to 8 different ways? Well, one of the first ones is what? The acquisition fee. The acquisition fee. So I'll keep this very, very simple. But you remember the list of all the things I told you get paid on? That's over here on the other side of the screen for you. That's the different ways you're going to get paid in this deal. So you are the GP. You are the general partner. You're bringing in 10% of the money. In this case, it's 55 grand. You're getting, in this case, 30 to 40% of the deal for bringing in only 10% of the money. You're also, the number one fee you're getting there is an acquisition fee. On something like this, $1.5 million deal, you're going to probably get 2%, a 2% acquisition fee. So 2% of $1.5 million. Oops, let me show you this. It's 2% of the purchase price. So the purchase price is $1.5 million, right? So that's a $30,000 acquisition fee that you're getting day one, the day it closes escrow. You get that fee, okay? So if you're coming in with 55 and the day you close escrow, you're getting a $30,000 check, you're technically out of pocket 25 grand. So $15,000 to $30,000 out of pocket, you now have control of this multifamily deal. Okay? That's how that works. And that's just fee number one. So now you're almost made whole just from the start. Miguel, it can be either or. Miguel asked the question, is this with private money or syndicated money? Either or. Doesn't matter. That's OPM. You just answered your own question. That's OPM. Okay? Love it. And then you're going to get a bunch of different ways of getting paid. But my entire goal tonight is to show you the one thing. And the one thing is, how can you buy a 10 to 30 unit apartment building, which is what this one is, in a 90-day window with $15,000 to $30,000 out of pocket? And I just showed you how you can buy this deal for $25,000 out of pocket. This particular one. And then you have your investors and all the other stuff. Now, granted, there's details in how do you then raise money and how do you do this. I get it. But the one thing to focus on is how can you actually do this? Because there's other steps, but yeah, you get taught, you learn, you know how to execute that game. Okay. Don't partners get equal share? No, they do not. 70% partner gets 70% equity. Nope. That's not how it works. No, that is not how it works. If you put down 10% of your equity share, amount you put down, blah, blah, no, it's not. Yep, that's the beauty of this game, Cristiano, is you're only bringing in a small amount of the money and getting a larger portion, in this case, a 3 or 4x on your part of the deal. So you're bringing in 10% of the money and getting 30 to 40% of the actual deal. That's 30, 40% of cash flows, 30, 40% of profits, 30, 40% of everything, okay? So now I'm going to give you a case study, okay? Let me give you a case study. This is an actual deal. Okay, I just gave you that example of how you can pull this off. Now let me walk you through an actual case study of exactly what I just showed you. This was a 31 unit deal that I did, and this one was in the Midwest. I had $18,000 of my own money out of pocket, about 18 to 18.5 out of pocket, and made about $590,000 on the deal. And let me show you how. So here's the deal. Bought this thing for $1,525,000. We renovated it. We put $400,000 in renovation. We had about $225,000 in closing costs to close the deal. We are all in cost of $2.15 million. Okay, all in cost. We went out and got a 70% loan of about $1.5 million. Then now we're bringing in that 30%. That's our down payment. Okay, that's $645,000. 10% is coming from me. Remember, 10% is coming from me. So that's $64,000. And then the rest is coming from OPM, other people's money. In this particular deal, it came from about 7 family and friends. 7 family and friends raised that money. Okay, it can come in different ways though. It could be seller financing. It could be a private lender. It could be the people in our community, the multifamily schooled community. All the above. All the above. Okay. So there's not just one way. When people talk about OPM, there's multiple ways behind the OPM game. Okay. Great question, Kate. How many hours a week does a GP put in the ballpark? In the beginning, it depends. So if the property is stabilized, meaning it's cash flowing from day one, I mean, I'm trying to think about these deals now, maybe an hour a week, because I'm an asset manager. I'm managing the managers. The property managers are doing the daily toilets and tenants, as I call it. And then I'll just maybe oversee big items that happen. So a couple hours a week, maybe, to asset manage the deal once it's stabilized. So here we go. So now an acquisition fee, I got $45,000 acquisition fee for putting the deal together. So $64,000 went in, $45,000 came out. I was out of pocket $19,000, and I had control of a 31 unit deal. I had control, voting rights. I was the main person running the deal. Okay, for $19,000 out of pocket. This is not a joke, and this happens all the time. So what did I get for that 19 grand? Keep in mind, my 64 went in. I got $45,000 fee day one. So my 64 is still in the deal. Okay, but what did I get for that? So in 24 months after we renovated the property, we were able to do a cash out refinance because we took the value of that building from $1.5 million and change for where we bought it to over $3.6 million in value by renovating the entire property, raising the rents, and increasing the value. Now we did what's called a refinance. We pulled cash out. We got all our money back. I literally got all of my 64 grand back and then some on top of it. So now I'm playing with house money, and so are all the investors. Okay, so that's number one. Then I'm still kicking my asset management fee. I'm getting that asset management fee paid monthly at 1% on the revenue of the building. Plus I'm getting my 40%, that's my split on the deal, of the profits and the cash flow all the time. So that equaled to about $2,000 a month over a 5-year window. That was $120,000. And then my net profits on the sale were about $470,000 net after all my money was back. So I made $590 on that, in this case, 19,000, but 18,000, 32x on the money. And that is how you do it. So the key is you just need to learn how to do it, right? You need to learn and be involved in an environment where you can actually pull this off. You just need to have the sweat equity, the knowledge, the skill set, the know-how to do this. And it's not hard. I mean, the concept that people have, kind of this limiting belief that people have, is it's just terribly hard. No, it's not terribly hard. It's terribly hard when you don't have the skill set, like you don't learn it. But I didn't know it. I mean, I was no special person. Everybody probably on this webinar tonight is smarter than me. So I just had to learn this stuff. I had to learn it. And once I learn it and you do it one time, then you gain the confidence. And when you gain the confidence, like it changes everything. Like you freaking walk different. Like, but you have to fight through, like the stuff we were talking about earlier. You have to fight through those barriers where you want to quit, right? Where you have resistance and it gets tough. And then rather than like pushing through that, when you know your process is good, you quit. And this is why a lot of people will start and stop and chase shiny pennies all the time. All you need to do is keep going, man. Like your success is just on the other side of that coin flip, but you got to keep going. People give up too early, too soon. Don't give up. Don't quit. That's what's stopping a lot of folks. You know, it's the mindset side of it. And it's all that. It's not the knowledge side of it. You can learn that. You can do every single thing I'm showing you tonight. And then we get into that. So Rob, you'd ask, where do you find OPM? Like I said, you can do all kinds of creative financing, right? We teach that all day long. Seller financing, all that stuff is all part of it. We have private lenders in our community of 4,300 people. There's people that are investing in deals all the time. All the time. If you have friends and family, Trust me, go find a good deal that makes financial sense. Raising money is not hard. Now, it's hard to raise money, Rob, if your deal sucks. I gotta be honest. If your deal's not good, yeah, it's hard to do anything, let alone buy it, but let alone raise any money. So yes, the deal has to make financial sense, okay, in order for that to happen. I mean, at the end of the day, it's understanding this, and then we'll move forward, but I just want to understand it from a high level. Keep it simple. Okay, keep it simple. You're bringing in 10, no matter how you shake it or bake it, you're going to bring in 10% of the money that's required to buy the deal. And for that, you're going to get 30 to 40% of the deal for that. Okay. And you're obviously the one out there doing most of the work, but that's why you're getting paid handsomely. Right? You do not get paid this kind of money by some get rich quick scheme, by not doing work. It just doesn't exist. Okay. I mean, go win the lotto and maybe, but you have to do some work, but you understand you're very valuable when you understand this stuff and you execute. Extremely valuable, which is why you can make great money. Great money. Yes, your largest profits, you're right, will come when you either refinance the property or when you sell it. That's when your big pops happen. But you're getting all the cash flows and everything in between. So you're making money from day one, right? And then yes, you will get some big pops while you own the property. That is correct. Yes, are you making distributions? Yes, you are. You're making distributions typically quarterly. Some people make them monthly, but quarterly, and they're paid out cash flow from the building from day one. That's right. Yeah, I can't get into the breakdown of the payouts, Emmy. We'd have to break down an entire financial model, which we just don't have time to do tonight. But certainly happens all the time, and we teach that and hold hands. So love that. Is it possible to wholesale multifamily? 100%. And am I pronouncing your name right, Atali? Is it Atali? Atali? Yes. We wholesale multifamily. We have teams scouring the country looking for deals all the time with our proprietary deal analyzer and deal software that we have. We have a deal software that we provide to people that'll find pre-market and off-market deals anywhere in the country. And we're doing it all the time. And by doing that, we created what's called our Deals on Demand program too, which is why part of our community, if we can't help locate a deal that makes financial sense for you in the first 90 days, we're going to come in and give one to you through our Deals on Demand program. Because we're out there scouring them left and right all the time. So we have ones that already pre-meet our financial models that we can just hand over on a silver platter. Yes, perfect. So let me get through this. Yeah, so kind of jumping into this, since we're kind of coming towards the end here, but so you heard all this tonight, and this is great. Like, is a community where you can actually do this, is that of value to you? Like, is it of value to anybody in here to learn and be a part of something where you have accountability? You're getting mentored by me directly, not some random hired coaches, where you actually have all the tools and systems and toolbox and everything you need inside of it, to where if you have problems from finding deals, analyzing them, raising capital, closing and managing these things anywhere in the United States of America, would that be of value? If it just helped you find one deal, a 10 to 30 unit deal, I mean, and allowed you to close that by the end of the year, would that be worth it? If that's all it did, would that be worth it? Right? If it just taught you how to find deals, let alone close them, but just find good deals, would that be worth it? If you got in and had a community where you actually learned how to raise capital and raised capital and learned that process of raising capital and having all the tools and systems to do that, would that be worth it? The question is, what is worth it, right? It's minimum. If that's all it did, right? That's all it did. To be transparent, 2.5 years ago, I had a lot of people approaching me and asking, because they saw what I was doing, buying apartments around the country and learning this process and all this stuff, and saying, hey, like, can you teach this stuff? And initially I'd said, I don't know, man, I don't have the time, etc. But then we put some courses up that people could just take at their own pace and put them up online. So and they did very, very well, and people loved them. But then we had a lot of people coming in closer and saying, this is all amazing, we love it and the value, but do you do a community? Do you have people where you can do you mentor people? Do you do this? And initially I said, no, I can't, I don't have the time for that, like for one-on-one mentorships. But I said, I got with our team and I said, what if we could create a win-win? What if we could create a community of well-trained investors that we're helping train around the country, that we're helping execute and get into their deals, where they're getting into their first 10, 30, 20, 50 unit apartment deal, and they're getting the success. And then by nature, then they want to do another. Awesome. And then by nature, now you probably want to go bigger and do more. That's where the partnerships and collaboration can happen, because most people, when you start going bigger and doing bigger deals, you need more people involved in it, where we can actually help out too. So now we're growing our portfolio. It's a win for us. Okay. Now you're growing your portfolio. It's a win for you. Everybody's growing and everybody's winning. And that's where kind of like, for me, it worked. It aligned with my core values of giving back, helping others, leaving a legacy, and I could do that. So that is kind of the crux behind the whole community, i.e. multifamily school, and why the entire thing was created, was around that philosophy. Just so you're aware of that.